Welcome back to CBSN Originals. Now, throughout our first half hour, we explored how cryptocurrencies are reshaping towns across the US. But to many investors, it's actually blockchain, the underlying technology behind cryptos, that has the potential to reshape the world. I spoke to Gary Tan, the co-founder of a venture capital firm that just invested $2.1 million in blockchain technology. He tells me why he sees this as the future.
Blockchain is basically a new type of database, and databases are the fundamental way that computers store information. And so the really special thing about this particular type of information storage is that there's not one single entity that controls it and determines this is what is truth. And so one way to look at it is actually a book. If you have a bank, you'll have a book that keeps track of the values of every single bank account in that bank. And what this allows lots of computers all around the world to do is not have a single book, but instead of one person writing to it, it could be millions of different people or different computers writing to that book. And so you can truly have sort of a shared ledger of store of value. And that's, for the first time, something that can happen only now. Before, you always had to have, if you wanted a bank, you needed a central banker.
A middleman.
And today you can have, exactly. You would always need a middleman.
Now, you're investing in companies essentially trying to build the infrastructure for this blockchain network. Why do you think it's the smart place to put money, and that this is transformative technology whose full uses we haven't even realized yet?
There are really two types of use cases for this tech. One is, I would argue, store of value, and that's what Bitcoin is. It is basically essentially money. It's trying to be a new type of digital gold. But with gold, it's heavy, you have to store it. And again, even when you're buying or selling gold, you usually have a central repository, or someone has to hold on to that gold for you. And in this case, as long as the internet works, it's some way for that store of value to basically exist. And that's never existed before.
Some of the people we've spoken to say, look, if you just think blockchain is based on the value of Bitcoin today or tomorrow, you're missing the point. This is more than just the fluctuating values of cryptocurrency. So give me some examples, some use cases that you think would be beneficial to me, the average guy at home, for blockchain technology.
Absolutely. So Bitcoin is really sort of the first thing that was created that could show that you could have this type of ledger, and it's the simplest possible type of that. There are new types of smart contracts and smart contract cryptocurrencies that have come out, Ethereum being the most popular one. And really, that merges this idea of money with a programming language. So what you can actually do is create a decentralized application. And that's significant in that before, you needed to actually create a centralized application. For instance, Uber, eBay, Airbnb are great examples in centralized technology that have all become very, very powerful pieces of our economy. A great deal of goods and services get transacted over these centralized technologies. And so the promise for the next stage of evolution for cryptocurrency is not just the store of value, but actually something that could be a medium of exchange. So this idea that you could actually transact business with other people over the internet, over a smart contract platform that you don't know, that you don't trust, but this trustless system could take the place of something that's highly centralized. And the only way that that can be interesting or valuable is if it's better, cheaper, or faster than what else is out there. And that's sort of the holy grail of what may happen. But that's kind of what happened back in 1994 when the internet first came online. A lot of people talked about it as something that no serious consumer could ever use. No real business could possibly be transacted across this because we already have fax machines. There are very prominent people out there who are economists who came out and said the sum total impact of the internet will be not greater than that of the fax machine. But now sitting here in 2018, that's become certainly not true.
I've seen you mention the photography example before. So let's say I'm a freelance photographer, I take a great picture, and I want to own the rights should it be repurposed or resold in the future. Potentially, how would blockchain technology allow me to make my money?
Yeah, so you can imagine a decentralized application that serves as an exchange. And so rather than go to Getty and upload your photo and say, hey, here's my photo, anyone can license it, you would go onto this decentralized platform and actually provide that as something that someone else could license. And because it's a decentralized app, it basically doesn't require a central body like Getty. It could be sort of more like open source software. If you think about the power of Linux as a server operating system, Linux did not have a central organizing body to say this was a version of Linux that you should use. And so likewise, you could have decentralized applications that allow exactly this, and it could take less of a fee. It could have actually even a larger database than a centralized version of that. And that would be one example of a future decentralized exchange that would be a great medium of exchange.
So there is a downside to this Wild West moment as well. You have a number of scams out there looking to take advantage of people who perhaps don't know as much and are looking for ways to make money. Do you think regulation as different parts of the world figure out what and how to regulate this will be helpful in the short term, or is that really more of a long-term benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I think I welcome regulation. I think that a lot of the things that are happening in cryptocurrency today resemble the 1920s bucket shops. And so a lot of folks who might not have the ability to do their own diligence or certainly their own technical diligence into these technologies, they're investing in things that are Ponzi schemes or straight up Ponzi's. They actually are not things that will ever ship real code, will ever create a real good or service, and will not create value for society. And so it is, it is the Wild West. It's pretty, dangerous, I would say, for people to sort of just jump in. I think be very wary with hot tips that you might be getting from family members or your Uber driver. Definitely don't go out. I wouldn't go out and buy. I shouldn't
be taking stock advice from my Uber driver. You're saying.
That's absolutely true. Please don't do that.
Okay, so as we look at the next 6 months, let's say, where do you think are the best opportunities for people who do want to at least learn more and understand more about this kind of wild new frontier?
Absolutely. I would really start at Coinbase.com. It's got great tutorials and FAQs, and it's really sort of the easiest way to get on board and sort of learn about what is out there. Beyond that, there is actually a website called Messari, Messari, and you can Google that and actually find a lot of information about very specific cryptocurrencies that aren't Bitcoin or Ethereum, but ones that could possibly be the future, and that's sort of the opposite of taking advice from your Uber driver.
Well, Garry Tan, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.